Hello students, today we will discuss Aristotle and his observations about tragedy. His thoughts regarding literature, tragedy, poetic form are very much considered as the landmark in the history of literary criticism. Still today his ideas, his expressed views are valued. Let us discuss about his contribution to the field of literary criticism, particularly his ideas about tragedy. Aristotle is the first scientific literary critic, and his literary criticism is largely embodied in a short treatise entitled as The Poetics. It contains 55 pages and 26 chapters. This treatise by Aristotle is an epoch-making work, a work which is a storehouse of literary theories. Most of the part of his treatise is spent on tragedy. He comments on tragedy on the basis of his observations with the help of few bits or topics. He discusses tragedy as an important form of literature. Talking about its origin, Aristotle says that tragedy is originated from epic poetry. But in epic poetry, the action is narrated, whereas in tragedy, the action is performed before the audience on stage. It means that Aristotle was very well aware of the fact that tragedy or the drama particularly is to be performed before spectators, and it is very much linked to the action, the performance. He respected tragedy more than epic because tragedy is a common thread, bulk of human life and values, and epic is a diluted form of human life, which is the mixture of good and evil. As comedy is originated from satire, tragedy is born out of epic poetry. Giving the definition of tragedy, he says that tragedy is an imitation of an action which is serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude, in a language embellished with each kind of artistic ornament, the several kinds being found in the separate parts of the play, in the form of action, not of narrative, through pity and fear, effecting the proper purgation of these emotions. Aristotle has used certain terms in his definition like catharsis, which is nothing but filtration, purgation, or filtration of the emotions of pity and fear. This definition by Aristotle has a wide implications. With this, he has refuted his master Plato, who had said that poetry is an imitation of an imitation, whereas Aristotle believes that art is an inevitable element of human life. He says that it is an imitation, no doubt, but of a serious action. Here we find the objects of imitation, which are the objects imitated in tragedy. Talking or discussing about these elements, Aristotle says that the objects of imitation of a tragedy are serious actions. Hence, it is different from comedy, which imitates the non-serious actions. Non-serious means something very light or unimportant things. Tragedy, on the basis of its matter of imitation, is distinguished from the epic. It also distinguishes from the lyrical poetry or the lyric poetry on the basis of its medium. Talking about plot of the tragedy, Aristotle says that plot of a tragedy should be of certain magnitude, which a common man can easily comprehend or understand. A beautiful plot is neither too long nor too short, but just in proportion. Aristotle has given two kinds of plots. Number one is simple plot and the other is complex plot. A simple plot he calls a plot simple when the change in the fortune of a hero takes place without peripecia and anagnorisis. Peripecia is generally the complication of situation and anagnorisis is the discovery of new things. Whereas complex plot is a plot having peripecia and anagnorisis, and these are used by the writer or the playwright to furnish the audience with surprise and pleasure. A perfect tragedy contains a complex plot. It means that a successful plot of a comedy, of a tragedy, should have a complex plot. Three unities. Discussing the three unities, Aristotle believes that there are three unities. First, unity of action. He says that only those actions and not all from the hero's life should be chosen which are connected to the theme of the drama or the tragedy. This unity of action should be so beautifully arranged that no action should look superficial, superadded, or unnecessary. Then, second unity is unity of time. It is the conformity between the time taken by the events of the play and in their representation on the stage. It should be represented on the stage so realistically that the actions of a day only should be chosen. The story should begin at the beginning of the day and it should end by the end of the day. Then we have unity of place. The uniformity of place should be maintained. These cannot be various, there cannot be various changes in place of actions. There should be conformity between the scene of the tragic event and the time which it takes to happen and the place where it happens. Then the most important aspect of his definition is the function of a tragedy. According to Aristotle, the function of a tragedy is to present scenes of pity and terror, and thus to bring about a catharsis of these emotions. This is somewhat a medicative term, a term used in the Greek medical therapies. The human emotions of fear and pity are washed, and when the drama is over, man feels as if relieved from tension. Unlike Plato, Aristotle presented positive function of tragedy. Now, the language about talking about the language of a tragedy, Aristotle believes that a tragedy can have an embellished language where the playwright or the dramatist can utilize the language as per his demand, as per the scenes. He wanted a tragedy to have various embellishments or verse and songs. Tragedy looks grand and great only in its verse form, poetic form. The chorus should have the song. This verse and song beautify, decorate, and give pleasure. But Aristotle says that they are not essential or indispensable for the success of a tragedy. Then next point which Aristotle has discussed about tragedy is character. Aristotle has laid down four important merits of the characters. What a tragic character should contain, the qualities of a tragic hero are discussed by Aristotle. He says that first, the characters must be good, then we have they must be appropriate, they must have likeness, and fourth quality which he says is that they must have consistency. But about the tragic hero, Aristotle had something different to lay down. He had something different to say. He says that a tragic hero should neither be very perfect nor utterly bad. He uses the words like he should neither be too good, nor he should be like a villain, nor he should be like a saint, and he should be a man of high status, either a king, queen, prince, or an army general. Preferably, these four qualities or the state he should belong to this stature. Aristotle thought that when such a great man suffers on the stage, the audiences can feel the pity and fear for him. The most important quality of a tragic hero is hamartia. This is the Greek term which Aristotle has used, hamartia. By hamartia, he says that the inborn flaw, the weakness by birth in a character. A.C. Broadley has translated this term as something tragic flaw. Due to this flaw, this hero commits a mistake which brings about his tragic end. The diction, which is again discussed by Aristotle, he says that the diction of the tragedy is the most important constituent part of a tragedy. By diction, he means the language which is an ornamental one. The figures of speech should be used to beautify this language. He recommended this poetic language only to tragedy, only to the form of tragedy. Then we come to another point, that is thought. By thought, Aristotle means that mental and emotional reactions of man to the circumstances in which he finds himself. Thought constitutes the theme of the plot, without which no successful tragedy is possible. Most of the times, the hero suffers inner conflict without any physical actions. That forms the thought of the play. For example, we can take the example of Dr. Faustus, the Prince Hamlet, who suffer from inner conflicts, which are their mental reactions to the external world. The next point which is discussed by Aristotle is the spectacle. It is the stage arrangement and the artificial show on the stage. In Aristotle's times, such spectacle was not important because most of the times the pictures were created through words and action. In this way, Aristotle is the first literary critic who has narrated the theory of tragedy so successfully. A host of critics have explained and interpreted Aristotelian theory of tragedy. The important critics like Leonard Trilling, A.C. Bradley are of the view that catharsis is a kind of homeopathic treatment. But F.L. Lucas rejects the idea of catharsis and said that the theatre is not a hospital. But Mr. Butcher agrees with his term catharsis and says that the tragedy has a cathartic effect on the audience. Before conclusion, this introduction of Aristotelian theory of tragedy, it is important to mention the quotation by F.L. Lucas. He says that even today, I quote, even today, the Poetics continues to be studied and prescribed as a textbook in schools and colleges all over the world, from California to Calcutta.